All right, let's dive into a tool that has totally changed the game for how we build our digital world. Terraform. We're talking about moving away from all that frantic, manual clicking and into a space where you can build entire cloud empires with just, well, a few lines of code. So let's just start with this one big question. I mean, what if you could describe everything you need? All your servers, your networks, your databases, just write it down in a file, hit a button, and just watch it all come to life. Perfectly. Every single time. That's exactly the power we're going to talk about today. But to really appreciate why this is such a big deal, we kind of have to remember how things used to be. Because before tools like Terraform, setting up infrastructure was, well, it was a manual and often pretty chaotic process. It was like the Wild West of server setup. And here's the difference, right? On one side, you have the manual way, spending hours clicking around in a web console just hoping you didn't miss a checkbox. This always led to these inconsistent environments that were a total nightmare to debug. But on the other side, you've got the Terraform way. You're writing clear, readable code that lives in version control, like Git, and it creates automated, identical infrastructure every single time. It's really the difference between having a precise architectural blueprint and just kind of hoping for the best. So this whole shift in thinking brings us to the core concept that makes all of this possible. You got to think of it less like you're doing manual construction and more like you're an architect, creating this perfect blueprint before a single virtual brick ever gets laid. And that concept is called infrastructure as code, or IaC for short. It's this simple but honestly really profound idea that we should be managing our servers and networks using the same tools we use for software, definition files and code. This brings a real engineering discipline to the world of IT operations. This right here, this captures the core philosophy of Terraform. It's what we call a declarative approach. You don't write a step-by-step script telling Terraform how to create a server. No, you just declare the end state you want. You say, hey, I need a T2.microserver with this specific image, and Terraform's engine figures out the most efficient way to make that happen for you. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? Well, Terraform boils this whole complex process down to a super simple, repeatable, and incredibly safe 3-step workflow. It all kicks off with the right step. This is where you define that blueprint we talked about in a file that ends in .tf. The language itself, it's called HCL. That's HashiCorp configuration language. And it's designed to be incredibly easy for humans to read. Seriously, you don't have to be a hardcore programmer to get it. And this builds out the full workflow. So after you write your code, you plan. And honestly, this is Terraform's superpower. It gives you an exact preview, a dry run of what it's going to add, change, or even destroy. No surprises. Once you look over that plan and give it the thumbs up, you apply. And Terraform goes and makes it reality. Write, plan, apply. It's that simple, and it's incredibly powerful. But wait a second, how does Terraform know what it's already built, right? How does it connect your code to the actual real resources running out there in the cloud? Well, that's where a very crucial file comes into play. This is the state file. The best way to think about it is as Terraform's memory, or its brain. This file, terraform.tf state, is basically a detailed map that connects every single piece of your code to the actual live thing it created in AWS, or Azure, or Google Cloud. It is the single source of truth for everything Terraform is managing. Now, where you store this brain is absolutely critical. When you're just learning, hey, keeping it on your local machine is totally fine. But the second you start working with a team, you have to move to what's called remote state. Storing it in a shared place, like an S3 bucket, and turning on state locking, well, that prevents two people from trying to change the same thing at the same time and causing a huge mess. It is absolutely essential for professional, collaborative work. So as your infrastructure starts to grow, you don't want to be writing the same code over and over and over again. And this is where Terraform gets really elegant, by letting you build with, well, it's like the most powerful set of Legos you've ever seen. These awesome building blocks are called modules. A module is really just a collection of Terraform configurations, all packaged together to create a reusable component. So instead of defining all the little bits and pieces of a web server every single time, you just use your web server module. And the benefits here are just massive. You can build a standard, secure network module just one time, and then everyone in your company can reuse it, which guarantees consistency. You can manage incredibly complex systems just by snapping these simple blocks together. It's really the key to building infrastructure that can scale and is actually maintainable in the long run.
Okay, so let's zoom out and take a look at the big picture. Why has this tool become such a cornerstone of modern tech? I mean, from tiny startups all the way to the largest companies on the planet. The answer really starts with this number: over 1,000. That's how many different providers Terraform supports. And we're not just talking about the big three cloud providers. No, this is Kubernetes, Datadog, Cloudflare, GitHub. You can manage pretty much your entire tech stack using the exact same language and the exact same workflow. It's amazing. And this gives you this massive advantage. You're not locked into one cloud. That whole plan step makes every single change predictable. You can stamp out identical, reproducible environments for development, for testing, and for production. And, maybe best of all, it all plugs directly into the automated CI/CD pipelines that power modern software delivery. So, at the end of the day, Terraform brings the discipline and the power of software engineering to infrastructure. It makes it predictable, testable, and repeatable. The big shift has already happened. Infrastructure is now code. So the only real question left is, what will you build?